Hi, this is James Cook of the University of Maine at Augusta in the Social Science program, and I'm recording this video to show you how easily and quickly you can get active, engaging in some elementary sentiment analysis with data that you've collected from a social media platform, Reddit. We're going to use R, RedditExtractor, which is a package that goes with R, and another package that goes with R called sentiment analysis. Now, this video is going to assume that you know how to extract and save Reddit data using R and RedditExtractor. If you don't know how to do that, just look on my YouTube channel for the video, how to extract and save Reddit data using R and RedditExtractor. That's its title. And that's just a few minutes. And this will take just a few minutes too. Reddit is a really cool social media platform. It just, in terms of use, overtook Twitter. So it's a very active social media platform. What is it? Essentially, it's a bulletin board. It's a place where people talk about subjects in these areas called, these communities called subreddits that are moderated. So they take out spam so that bots are not as active. And there are certain rules that are used for moderation and things like that. It's like a community space. And you could think about possibly the sentiment of the text that occurs in this space, both in main posts and in comments. So let's talk about how to do that. We're going to do that today using the subreddit, the discussion board subject called Young Adults, which is about young adults. You can see it here in the subtitle. It's r/young adults, and that tells you the name of the subreddit is Young Adults. You can also see it up here in the URL address bar of a browser. So to make this happen, we head over to R, and as I said, look at that previous video if you need to understand how to install R, completely free. It's great. And what we have here is a 10-line computer program. When I say computer program, that may freak you out, but really, all it is just writing out a command, no different than if you were to do a drop-down menu command like tools, install packages, right? That's a command. This is just writing it out. And really, when I say it's 10 lines, there's one empty line here that's just white space, so I can separate out two separate areas. And then there's this other set of two lines here that have a little hashtag in front of them, and that means it's a comment. You notice they're kind of green. It means they're not actually doing anything. They're just saying, here's what we're going to do. The first command, pardon me, I need to take a phone call. Good morning, this is James Cook. Hello? Spammer. Yep, that'll slow you down any day, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load some libraries. These are what R calls packages, but then the command is to activate them is called library. I don't know why, but it is. Now, there are two packages here, right? And you can see them in parentheses. They're called RedditExtractor and SentimentAnalysis. You have to install these packages in order to activate them. How do you install them? Go up to Tools, Install Packages, and then you would type in the name of the package that you need to install. And R even knows what the names of the most popular ones are, so hey, look, it'll suggest it to you, and then you can click install and then install it. I'm not going to install it because I've already done so. It may be the case when you run this program for the first time that there are a couple of extra hidden little sub packages that are required to run these commands. This happens every once in a while in R because it's a free program created by statisticians and methodologists. It's not a professional product in the sense of being supported by a for-profit corporation. It is professional in the sense that it is used by professionals, but you have to sometimes install these packages. And if you get down in the console a red message that says, oh, this all requires another package, then that's okay. Just go up to Tools, note the name of that package, go up to Tools, Install Packages, and install that package too. So, so we've already explained 3 out of the 10 lines. 1 is empty space, 2 are comments, 2 more, getting us to halfway, are just library commands that are saying, activate this package that you have installed. So now there's only 5 more. I have, let's talk about them. One is called YA Reddits, and that is going to create a database called Young Adult Reddits. Well, but I'm shortening it to YA Reddits. That's just the name of the data set that I'm going to create, right? With cases and variables to describe the cases, where the cases are comments to this particular subreddit. And what is it going to be all about? Well, let's look at the other side of that arrow. Okay, that arrow is saying we're going to take all this stuff on the right-hand side and we're going to shove it into, like, the arrow pointing to it, this data set called YA Reddits. What's it going to be? Well, it's going to use RedditExtractor's command that is called get_Reddit. And get Reddit is a command, just like, up here in Tools, Install Packages, and you'll notice that there are options right here, but there are options here too. So we're going to run the command, and here are the options. The options are separated by commas. So the first option is what the name of the subreddit is. The subreddit is going to be, we're going to set that equal to, in quotes, young adults. Make sure you spell it right. The second thing is how many pages, up to how many pages are we going to want to collect. The pages are the equivalent of, when you go to the subreddit, you have a page already loaded, but it's not everything, because if you had to load everything, well, that would take a long time, even on a modern internet connection. So it just loads the first page. And so you'll notice when you get down to the bottom, then it automatically loads the second page. Like that. See that? Oh, that was this moment, and then it just loaded a bunch. That's page 2 here. Well, this is saying how many times do you want to do that? It's going to control how much you want to collect. Now, just to be quick, I'm going to say I only want to collect 2 pages, okay? And then I can sort the result in the data set. I can sort it by the comments, or I could sort it by the date. There are all these options, and you could read about it in the support literature for the RedditExtractor package, which is available on the internet. Or you could just say, hey, we'll sort by the comments field. Okay, now, the second set of text here is performing a sentiment analysis. And it's going to be a basic one, but we're going to call the result sentiment. And what is it going to be? It's going to be the result of analyzing the sentiment of YA Reddits, which is the name of the data set that I'm going to create. And then there's this bit where I say, oh, then there's this $sign and then comment, right? What does that mean? It means take a look at the YA Reddits data set, and then let's take a look at this column that's going to be created by RedditExtractor that is called comment. And what is that going to contain? That text of the comment. Let me show you a version of an older run I made on a different data set. The data set will look like this, and see, there is a column called comment. Now, we could go and we could do sentiment analysis of the title column, like just got declined for college. Oh, so young adult. Or we could look at the post text, right? Which is what the comments come from. Oh, poor young adult. They just got declined for college and they feel so lost. What should I do? What is the sentiment behind that going to be? Oh my goodness. Hopefully the sentiment of the comments that come up here in response are going to be a little bit more positive than the original poster was, because we hope there's some encouragement as human beings. But, maybe there will be, maybe there won't be. Okay, so check that out. That's pretty good. It's going to generate this, and it's going to do it by looking at dictionaries that assign a certain sentiment value to a certain set of really important words that are in that dictionary, like the dictionary for happy words, the dictionary for sad words. There are sentiment dictionaries for anxious words, right? So there are all kinds of sentiment dictionaries out there. You can get complicated with it, but we're going to be simple today. Then I'm going to ask it, I'm going to do this command that is simply saying, oh, then let's take a look at this new data set called sentiment. And let's take a look at that thing that's called sentiment, and then a $sign, which means a column called sentiment QDAP. What is QDAP? It's one of the dictionaries, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. And I just want it to print that out so I can see what it looks like. And then finally, I'd like it to count words. And what would I like it to count the words of? Young adult Reddits. I want it to note how many words there are in that comment field. And when it's doing that count, there's this option that says, do I want to remove stop words? I've set it to false. Stop words are things like a, and, the, but, so, to, these really tiny little words that are like just stuff that we don't want to mess with and call them major words. Some people only want to count major words, so you would say remove stop words, true. And some people do want to count those major words, and today I do, so I'm going to say remove stop words, false. Stop words are things that you can also configure. This is for a more advanced sentiment analysis. You can say, I really don't want to have it look at certain phrases. For some reason in this subreddit, they mean something, and the dictionary thinks they mean something else. I just want to take them out. So you can alter your stop words, but that's kind of more varsity level work. We're doing junior varsity work today. And then finally, we're going to write this CSV file out. And a CSV file is this thing that can be read by any data analysis program, including R, including Microsoft Excel, including Microsoft Access, SQL databases. You know, you can upload CSV files. They're great. They're kind of like the lingua franca of data sets. So what am I going to write? I'm going to write Reddits, young adult Reddits. And where am I going to write it to? Right, that's the second option, separated by a column. I found the folder designation for my desktop, which in Windows is C:/users, and then the name that I use for this computer, which is James Cook, because that's me, and then the desktop, and then slash, and then the name of the file I'd like it to be saved to. So let's see how this works when I run it. It's going to take just a little bit of time, not too much. And we notice here that as we're running this, there's this stop sign that indicates that it's running. And it also is a place where if you like create an infinite loop or something like that, and you realize, or you're using too much memory and you're screwing things up in your computer, you make some mistake and you need to fix it, you can just hit that stop button. Everything will stop. But notice I'm already 1/3 of the way done. More than 1/3 of the way done. Every time I speak, there's just a little bit more done. This really happens quickly, which is so cool about this era of data collection. It's possible to observe some communities, online communities, in their entirety, and not with a sample. This idea of surveys, let's just do a survey, is kind of antiquated unless you have $5 million to get a really good representative sample. It really costs a lot of money to do that. If you don't have the money to do that, an online sample is the worst thing you could possibly do because they tend to be convenience samples. And your convenience is highly biased in terms of drawing down a particular range of a population. Here, we're specifying and saying this is the population we want to study, and we want to get, for a certain range of time, we want to get all the posts and comments. Oh, and look, here we are. It ran. Let's see what happened. Okay, so the first thing that happened is, you know that there's a lot of output that happened here. And one of the pieces of output was that I had it produce this column that is the sentiment as described by QDAP, okay? And we'll take a look at what that means. This is the harder part of the work. The easy part is this 10 line program. The hard part is figuring out what this means, okay? So what this means here is that using this QDAP dictionary, it has taken and counted words that are positive, words that are negative, and then it's taken this share that are positive, and it's given them a positive valence, a share that are negative, and it's given them a negative valence, and then it's subtracted the negative from the positive, and it's given a net result. Is the net valence positive or negative, and to what extent? So you'll notice there are a lot of fractions in here that are telltale, like 0.1666667. That is, is that, what is that? 1 out of 6, I believe. Yes, 1/6. So that tells you that there were these possibly 6 positive, or out of every 6 words, there was 1 of them that was positive, and then there were none that were negative, right? This is a fraction. This is a fraction here, right? So you can kind of see in the numbers what it's doing here. And then I also asked it to count words and to give us a word count here. So that's really cool. And we've got now some new data. One of them is called YA Reddits, and it has the text with a comment, the title, the post text, okay, the link, the domain, the URL, all this neat stuff, okay? And then there is this piece, this data set that's called sentiment. And it is giving a word count, and it's giving sentiment, negativity, positivity, according to these different dictionaries. It includes a set of default dictionaries. There are ways in sentiment analysis that you can work with different dictionaries to look at different qualities that are represented by those dictionaries. But this is a starter. What you need to do now, let's notice, let's just take a look at GI, for instance, okay? So in this first one, there are 50 words to count. Okay, wow, that's a lot. And so then let's say, let's look at an easier one. Let's take a look at our second line. That second line is going to, it says we just have 2 words. And it says, well, how many of them are positive according to this GI dictionary? 0. Okay, how many are negative? 0.5, 1 out of 2. And so you take the positive, subtract the negative value, and you get the overall sentiment value. And you see that happens over and over and over again. Okay, so what does sentiment GI refer to? It sounds like something out of the gastrointestinal tract. Well, we could look that up by doing a search engine search for sentiment analysis or sentiment GI. What does that refer to? Oh, and it gives us this package description, right? And then there are descriptions that you can actually read. You could go read the description here. You could go to Stack Exchange, and you can ask, as other people say, what do all the columns mean in the sentiment analysis function in R? Okay, they're lookup dictionaries. The different dictionaries are in the documentation for the function, right? So here is the documentation for that function. It was the first link. So what is sentiment GI? No, that's not included, but I noticed that dictionary GI is. So let's look at that. Dictionary GI is a dictionary with a list of positive and negative words according to the psychological Harvard 4 dictionary as used in general inquirer software. Cool. and it gives a source where you could read more about that. This is where you really need to take the responsibility to understand what those dictionaries are, how they work to generate those numbers. But going back to R, there's this final piece that we can do, right? So we know that in the sentiment data set, the second row contains just 2 words, and one of them is negative, and none of them are positive. Well, notice if we go back over to the YA Reddit's data set, that let's go find that. Well, here is that second row. Let's check it. Nerve pinch. I want to know in the dictionary which of those is a negative, nerve or pinch. But there are the 2 words. And over here's the first comment, which is the 50-word one. Whew. Okay, but I wanted the one with 2 words. Why? Because I wanted to be able to show you that these actually correspond. Final piece then. If we close these 2, you'll notice that here I wrote out the CSV file for YA Reddits, which is just the collected Reddits. I could add a permanent write.csv file in which I take the sentiment data set, and then I save it to C users James Cook desktop, and I could save that as young adults sentiment.csv. Okay, and I could run the whole thing again, or here's a pro tip, not a pro tip, it's really an amateur tip. You can just write that down here, and you can literally in the console, you can have it just run one line at a time. I wanted to write that as its own CSV file. Why would I want to do that? Because then if I go, say, to Microsoft Office and I wanted to start Excel, hypothetically, I could do something where I could open up from the desktop, not Excel files, I want all files because I want CSV files. I could open these 2 files up, and then you'll notice that I will have how many rows? 2 pages worth, 385 comments generated. Okay, and then I also, that's in the sentiment analysis, okay? And then I also should have 385 rows here, and they will correspond. So I could, if I wanted to merge this into one data set, just take all those columns, and this is like the ID for the data that's created, right? I could then just cut and paste that data in, and now I have one united data set in which I have the information on the text and whatever else might be included, and I also have the information on the sentiment of that text. And I could save that as a CSV, young adults Reddit and sentiment. Congratulations, it is combined, and now I can work with that as a combined document. That didn't take too long, did it? I hope this has been useful in showing just how easy it is to grab data. The hard part comes next, which is interpreting each of these columns carefully and well. But you're ready to start doing data work in just a few minutes. Hooray for the internet. Hooray for people who use the internet to talk about things in a public way. That means that we can grab that information without significant ethics concerns because it's already public. And hooray for R and the people who write these packages for R, these methodologists and statisticians and researchers who want to be able to answer questions and want to help you be able to do that too. For the University of Maine at Augusta Social Science Program, this is James Cook. Please get in touch with me at james.m.cook at maine.edu if you have any questions. I'd be glad to help you out.